Hello, and welcome to this channel, Highly Sensitive Wisdom. My name is Susanna, and today's video is the first video of the year 2026. So, Happy New Year! May this year be a year full of healing, peace, health, learning, new opportunities, open doors for us, and plenty of good surprises. That is my hope on this for this new year that is starting 2026. So in last year's last video, we were talking about DNA, and we will continue talking about DNA today, also with the help of the book by Gregg Braden, Pure Human. This is the most recent book by Gregg Braden. So if you didn't watch the previous video, or if you're not familiar with his work, Gregg Braden is a scientist, a geologist, and he has worked for more than 3 decades tirelessly to bridge science and spirituality. So he has investigated many different topics in different fields. He doesn't stay in just one lane. He has a very holistic approach to things. So he finds very transcendental things because of his very holistic approach. And he is very prolific in his research. He's also very prolific in his writing. So he has written many books, and 5 of those are New York Times best-selling titles. So I will be quoting a little bit from this book today also, Pure Human by Gregg Braden, specifically about DNA. And yeah, I did notice that the last video is the video where the view count was rising the fastest. So clearly you're interested in learning more about these topics. So that will be the topic for today, that our DNA is an antenna. So if you enjoy this content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, leave your aha moments in the comment section so we can inspire each other and make this YouTube channel a living community. So thank you in advance for your participation. Okay, so I was taught, and I should think that is the case for many people, I was taught that DNA is something that you inherit from your parents when you're born, and that things that are in your DNA, they are kind of written in stone. Like if you, for example, you receive DNA containing certain illnesses or diseases from your parents, then at some point you will develop those as well. That's kind of your fate. Too bad for you if you inherited bad DNA. Deal with it. That was the kind of discourse that I received about DNA, and that turns out to be very far away from the truth. Now, some things that we receive, some things, yeah, because as a truth seeker and developing discernment and these things that I talk about on this channel, we have to make the distinctions. All things are not, meant to be propaganda or marketing or lies to deceive us. Some things are simply that, the scientific findings haven't reached all the way to truth, because science is also a living field of activity. So just because we say, oh, science has validated this, science says this, science that says that, that doesn't mean that that is the absolute truth. That means that those are the findings that we currently have, that are currently being validated by scientific research. But then in the future, there can be other studies that make those findings obsolete or show that, oh, those findings were incomplete. We have to continue investigating. So that is a living, body of work in the world of scientific research. So maybe at the time, science hadn't found out yet everything about DNA. So maybe those were the conclusions that scientists, decades ago had drawn. That DNA is you inherit it, you receive it, and then deal with it. But as we shall see today, or maybe that could be to hinder us from seeing our true potentials as human. I don't know. I don't know if it was meant to be, deceptive, or if it just was misunderstanding or lack of awareness. I don't know. But what we will see today is something radically different. We will see a radically different reality, that in fact DNA is something very dynamic and not at all written in stone. And more than anything else, it's a blueprint. So it's not something written in stone. It's not something that will stay the way you received it forever. No, it's a dynamic. It's a blueprint. The genes can be activated. They can be deactivated. So just because you have something in your DNA doesn't mean that you will automatically manifest it in your life. Just because you have something in your DNA doesn't mean automatically that will sabotage things for you, and vice versa. You could have experiences in your life, a trauma, for instance, or as Gregg Braden will mention in the book, that there could be technology that could alter DNA, and then the blueprint would manifest differently in your life because of the alterations made in your DNA. So in the last video, we discovered, thanks to Gregg Braden, he was the one who discovered this a number of years ago, that there is a code encoded in our DNA, in our single cell, in our body. And in this book, Pure Human by Gregg Braden, he mentions that the average human body contains 50 trillion cells. That's a lot of cells. And every one of those cells has this message encoded, God eternal, within the body, like the signature of our creator. The artist created the masterpiece, which is us. So yeah, I just wanted to mention also before I start quoting that Gregg Braden mentions in another part of this book, just so we can wrap our heads around, how many cells are 50 trillion cells, because that's a lot. We don't usually use that kind of large numbers, in our everyday life. So a trillion, that is like, yeah, how much is that really? So he mentions that if you want to count to 1 trillion, at the rate of counting 1 cell per second, then 1 trillion cells, or 1 trillion seconds, that corresponds to 32,000 years. And we have 50 trillion cells. So that would be 32,000 years times 50 to count all our cells in the body one by one, at the rate of counting 1 cell per second, right? So that's how many cells we have on average in the human body. And yeah, I apologize for coughing. I always start coughing when I start recording, and the rest of the day I don't cough. So something is going on with my voice still. I have to figure out what that could be. So, Pure Human, Gregg Braden. I will be quoting from chapter, let's see, it's chapter 3, Transhumanism, erasing the link between human and divine. So the reason for being of this book, Pure Human by Gregg Braden, that was published in 2025, it's a recent book, is a call to action that we need to get to know ourselves well enough before we possibly give away what makes us human, because there's an agenda, transhumanism, trying to implement technology into the human body, and that would make us a hybrid species. We would no longer be pure humans. And Gregg Braden's call to action is that we have to inform ourselves, we have to remain pure humans, and we have to stand up for our rights and defend what makes us human. And that's also why it's so urgent to read this book. So I highly, highly recommend this book. Buy it, read it, assimilate information, and share it with others so that we know what kind of battle we are in the middle of, so that we can defend our rights and remain pure humans. Because yeah, we have so much to cherish for being pure humans, and we cannot just give that away just because some narrative or some agenda wants us to do that. So I quote: to replace portions of the human body with artificial components diminishes our ability to connect with the vast energetic essence of our existence, our divinity. While an organism may still be alive and animated by the proteins and organs of the body, as we saw with the dolly the sheep, the consciousness that holds the program of that body in place can be lost. This may explain the rapid deterioration and premature deaths of several cloned animals observed by the researchers mentioned in the Lancet article. The mystery of the cloning process is this: the scientists who do it believe they understand the process. They think they've gotten everything correct. They've successfully duplicated the precise genetic code of the organism they are cloning. They've successfully duplicated the environment that allows the organism to thrive. And while it may be true that they've accomplished the preliminary steps necessary for successful cloning, they've done so without the understanding of how organisms resonate with the intelligent field that programs living systems. This is the organized field of information that British biochemist Rupert Sheldrake has named the morphic field, and that he describes eloquently in his groundbreaking research. It is only now, to take these cloning successes to the next level, that the underlying field of information must be taken into account. End of quote. So just a couple of points here because I have another quote. I wanted to mention this because Gregg Braden mentions the field here, and then the longer quote I will read in a moment refers to a field, just so you know what kind of field we are talking about, the morphic field. So a field of information that we are all part of. And yeah, information, energy slash information that we are all a part of and that we are all communicating with on an ongoing basis. So also in this book, Gregg Braden talks about the cloning process, and that is important because the thing is about integrating technology into the human body, making us a hybrid species. There is no long-term scientific research that shows the long-term effect that could have. And by long-term, I mean, decades-long research, studies that go on for decades. So what he did, this author, Gregg Braden, he uses scientific data, from research made on cloning process because they have common denominators, which is the DNA, and altering the DNA or taking DNA out of its natural context, putting it into an artificial context, and what that does to the process of life. And what has been observed in cloned animals is that they do not live their entire natural lifespan. After more or less half of their natural lifespan, they start to have severe health problems. They start to have severe pain. Their natural functions start to deteriorate, and then it just goes downhill for them. And in some cases, the animals have been euthanized to spare them the suffering, right? So and that's an alert that Gregg Braden is making in this book. Like, yeah, we don't know yet what the long-term effects would be from making us a hybrid species. And since the narrative is that we all have to accept this kind of hybrid species, it's done on such a massive scale there will be no time to have these long-term studies to study the effects, and therefore we have to draw our conclusions from other similar enough experiences that have been made with DNA. And if that prognosis would to be applied on what is going on right now, then the prognosis is not very good, because there would be alterations to the natural rhythm of life, and there would be a lot of suffering. And the problem is that it could be irreversible, and that's why we have to inform ourselves now and not just wait and see what happens. Because if we just wait and see what happens, then what will happen is that the agenda will be implemented, and then we will regret it, and then it will be too late. So that's why we have to inform ourselves now and take action now. It's urgent. So I will quote another passage, still same book, Pure Human, Gregg Braden. The chapter is called Everyday Divinity, Our Destiny of Living Free. It's chapter 5. Specifically about the DNA, and I apologize again for the cutting. So, our DNA antenna. Earlier in the book, we discovered that in addition to providing the blueprint for the development and growth of our bodies, DNA also functions as an antenna that receives information from the intelligent field of energy / information that underlies our existence. Specifically, the paper stated that the 3D DNA structure behaves as a fractal antenna, which can interact with the electromagnetic fields over a wide range of frequencies. It's antenna function of DNA that gives us insight into the deep intuition that exists between a mother and a child, both on the babies inside of her body and lasting for a period of time now measured in decades following birth. Mother and child are communicating via nature's internet for sharing information through biological resonance. It also appears to be this connection that contributes to the pain we feel when we as adults lose our parents, or when a parent tragically loses a child. We say that we feel a sense of loss and emptiness, and often even a physical pain in our heart and gut that conventional medicine does not have the tools to explain. On a personal note, when I lost my mom to COVID-19 during the pandemic in 2021, I was hospitalized for cardiac symptoms that appeared to have no biological source. All of the physical tests and chemical markers came back showing perfect readings. The mysterious symptoms were ultimately attributed to the somatic conditions produced from the grief. the unresolved grief I felt over the loss of my mother. With this idea in mind, perhaps it's not surprising that the physical symptoms immediately disappeared when I began to directly address my grief specifically. To this day, those symptoms have never returned. The point of me sharing this account is that we now have a biological and physics-based understanding of the maternal intuition that used to be anecdotal and attributed to coincidence. As we accept the fact of our energetic connection, it becomes easier to acknowledge that this connection is not limited exclusively to mothers and their children. The reason is that every strand of DNA throughout the 23 pairs of chromosomes located in each nucleus of the approximately 50 trillion cells that make up the average human body are antennae, and they are tuned to something. While some of the antennae remain tuned to the mothers that carried us, other portions of the DNA antennae are tuned to elements of the world we live in. What are we saying to the field? Through our resonant relationship with the energy field that underlies our existence, we are in a never ending conversation with the world around us. We are constantly sending vibratory messages into this field that is the source of our experience. At the same time, we are constantly receiving information and being affected by the same field. When we will acknowledge the existence of this two-way communication dynamic and the role that the field plays in our lives, the obvious question becomes, what are we saying to the field? To develop an awareness of our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, and the way that we respond to the events of our lives is to become conscious of the language that we are conveying into the source of our existence. Awareness and mindful noticing are also factors in becoming aware of what the field is saying to us through our feelings and intuition. We don't need to be mothers to receive the intuitive hits that are coming at us each and every day. Such information is a natural and inescapable part of our lives as a consequence of living in the field. Some of our highest levels of mastery may be gained through embracing these expressions of divinity and allowing intuition insights to become a natural part of our everyday lives. No quote. So, a few different points here to mention. So yeah, if you haven't watched my previous video, God Eternal Within the Body, I will drop the link in the description below so you can watch that. And also in this passage here, the author Gregg Braden, he mentions that he lost his mother and developed, cardiac symptoms that, traditional medicine, conventional medicine couldn't explain. And I've also recorded a video previously about how physical symptoms can be, in reality, spiritual symptoms. I will also drop that link in the description below if you haven't watched that yet. So that gives metaphysical or spiritual or energetic, however you want to call it, explanation of symptoms we can manifest in our physical body. So there's so much more to our physical body than meets the eye, and so much more than we have ever been led to believe. And that's also why it's so important that we inform ourselves and that we don't just believe everything we hear, and that we definitely don't follow just the herd mentality of doing like everyone else is doing, because most people don't inform themselves. Most people, they just go on with their lives and they just, yeah, they stay on a surface level. And we have to go deep to find these issues and the root causes of things and to understand the connections, because everything is truly interconnected in this world of ours, in this universe of ours. So what I wanted to mention also on this topic, that the DNA acts as antenna, as he said here, Gregg said that antennae are tuned to something, and that's also why it's so important. The environment we are immersed in on an everyday basis, the people we are surrounded with, the kind of interactions that we are having, because yeah, truly, energy is an energy. It's a dynamic dance. It's between our inner world and our outer world. So we are constantly in communication, energetically speaking, and the DNA is an important part of that. As a blueprint, the code for life. It's quite. When you come to think of it, that has a lot of weight, right? DNA is a code of life. So depending on what's in that blueprint, and depending on how authentic it is, how close to the source it is, how God originally intended it, your life will be, smoother and more fulfilling, or there will be more struggle, So we really need to take care of our DNA, and we really need to honor our DNA and try as far as possible, to keep it intact and or restore it to the original design that God intended for your DNA and for your life, because God had a plan for your life already before you arrived in this physical plane. Yeah, that's also in the Bible, the Holy Bible. Says that God already knew us and already had a plan for our life already before we arrived here in the physical body on this physical plane, which is planet Earth. So yeah, there are so many aspects to human existence. We are truly multidimensional beings. So many things going on simultaneously, and therefore it's yeah, the biggest trap truly is to be locked inside here in our mind and only see things on the surface level. Then we will miss out so many other things that we need to know, to make informed choices and to be the master of our destiny and not to be the victims of circumstances, right? And yeah, truly, we have to develop our discernment, our critical thinking, inform ourselves, make our own decisions, not just do what everyone else is doing, and definitely not just believe in every narrative we hear. So yeah, the DNA is an antenna. We are in the field of information, of energy. We are in an ongoing process of two-way communication. And also, since DNA is not something written in stone, it's not something that, oh, you inherited this, now you have to deal with it. That kind of attitude. That also means that DNA could be potentially a source for healing. So if you have been through things in your life like trauma or other stuff that may have altered, the genetic code, the genetic messages you have in your DNA, that could also be something you could check out if you are, struggling a lot in your life, or you find yourself with a lot of blockages. You've tried different kind of things. That could also be a matter of DNA, so you could check that out also. And obviously, subconscious reprogramming, which I always recommend. And I will also drop the link to my website about the belief code if you want more information about the reprogramming process, which is also very, very efficient. So obviously there are different methods of healing. There are different modalities. You can complement them. They can, enhance each other and work in synergy, so that you can, get the most out of your healing journey and accelerate your results, right? So yeah, DNA definitely is something very fascinating, something we need to learn about, something that we need to open our minds about. Also, we have received so many things that we believe to be true that are partial truths, or that are not true at all, or that are distortions, or that are just deceptions intended to be so, or that are just, consequences of not informing ourselves on an ongoing basis, because this is also the case that human consciousness is evolving, and that is very visible in the scientific world. That new studies come out, and then new findings come out, and some findings will make previous findings obsolete, and or shedding new light on things, and therefore there will be paradigm shifts from time to time. Like in the past, we believe this to be true, and that could be held to be true for many decades, and then suddenly a new understanding appears, and then that comment starts to have more impact in society or in certain circles, and then that will create another kind of worldview. So the world is evolving. Our consciousness is evolving, but also our world is evolving to reflect our consciousness, and it's all interconnected. So that's also why we need to inform ourselves on an ongoing basis, because what we have learned decades ago, or what we were taught by our parents, maybe that was true back then, but maybe it's not true anymore, or maybe it never was true. It was just a belief. So many things in our lives depend on beliefs and belief systems. So there are many things that are not even true, or just beliefs, and that's also why we need to remain critical and have discernment and inform ourselves on an ongoing basis so that we don't fall into all of the traps, because there are many traps in this world of illusions. um, yeah, so I hope this is being helpful, dear watcher. There are more gold nuggets in this book, Pure Human by Gregg Braden, that I finished reading recently. So I will continue quoting things from this book with different perspectives, because it covers a lot of ground, not only DNA. That's where I wanted to start, but it also covers other things. And definitely a great book. Definitely something you need to read, and you need to read it now, because it truly is urgent, because with the advances of technology, everything is accelerating, because with AI, artificial intelligence, and the robotics and all that stuff, so many things are being done automatically. So many things, so many tasks are being delegated to technology, which means that it becomes like this snowball effect, right? So AI will be able to accelerate its own progress, and that's also why, we need to inform ourselves now, and we need to take action now, and we cannot just wait and see. Because I have met so many people in this life who have this mentality. They settle for, I have a job, I have somewhere to live. And then they settle, and then they don't move on from that. And then they have this mentality like, oh, let's wait and see what happens. Let's wait and see what happens. Let's wait and see what happens. But if you don't take action, what happens is that the agendas will be implemented to the masses, and the masses will have to submit. And then who knows what will happen in the future? And then we will not be able to um, just say, oh, we never opt in for that, or we never agree to that, or whatever. But you have to inform yourself now, before those agendas are implemented. So we cannot just wait and see and hope for the best, and expect someone else to do something. We have to do something. We have to inform ourselves. We have to speak up. We have to stand up for our rights. You cannot just wait and see. As I said, I've met so many people who just have that mentality. Oh, let's wait and see what happens. And that is a very disempowered attitude. That's a very disempowered mentality, and that will keep you small and stuck and suffering unnecessarily. Um, and you will be at the mercy of the circumstances, because there are agendas, shaping the world deliberately, and shaping the masses deliberately, and shaping our consciousness also deliberately, with all kinds of narratives. So we have to be alert. We need to stay alert, and not just wait and see. So I hope that you will be inspired to read this book. I hope you will be inspired to learn more about DNA. I hope you will be inspired also to stand up for your rights and remain a pure human and cherish your humanness. We have so many great things to be grateful for about our humanness, and things like empathy and our emotions, and what makes us us. We are a wonderful species. We make mistakes. Obviously, we make a lot of mistakes, but we're not all bad. There are many things to be cherished in our species as pure humans, and there are many things that we need to many things we have conquered that we need to defend, and also many things that we were given as gifts from God directly, and that makes us who we are. And we should be proud of who we are, and cherish what makes us human. And it's great to be human and not just a robot. Um, let's cherish our humanness. So, dear watcher, take care of yourself. I will keep recording more videos for you, so stay tuned. I will see you soon. Bye for now.